Welcome to Collaboration Conversations. I'm your host, Regina Partain Bergman, CEO of Bridgeport Strategy. I am delighted to bring you my guests today. I have had the opportunity to see a bit of their work on film and just amazing the things that they do. And I'm so excited to learn more about them and how they got going in what they do. So let me introduce to you um, my co-host today, Joseph Cancilla. Did I say the last name properly, Joseph?
That was great.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Joseph is an experience creator and he does corporate entertainment, luxury events, private parties, things of that nature. Joseph, welcome to the show. Thank you for being our co host today.
And thanks for having us, of course.
Awesome. And Joseph, would you please share with our audience a bit about your journey, how you got to where you are now, and who you serve and why?
Okay. So the short version is that, I started when I was a kid doing Polynesian dance. And then when I was 12 years old, I started learning how to spin the Samoan fire knife. And so now, 26 years later, I've been performing with fire for a little bit more than 2 decades. And we started the business about 10 years ago, only doing luau entertainment in Utah. And now fast forward to now, we're doing so much more. We've got a fire circus that we started about 6 years ago, and still going strong doing luau entertainment, and every combination that you can think of under the sun. And the people that we serve, we do a lot of corporate events and luxury events, private parties, a lot of community events. We actually, in Utah, we just booked 4 large community events for this summer. So that's pretty exciting.
Excellent. Excellent. And I'm sure we'll hear more about those as we go forward in some of our conversation. So, Joseph, would you take a moment, please, and introduce each of your guests and have them share their story and who they serve and why?
Yeah. Let's start with Rose. Rose is my partner in crime. And she's been working with me now pretty closely for the last year and a half, and kind of learned the ropes with how I've done entertainment for the last 10 years, and then bringing her little spice, her little flair of magic to the table, and it's really exploded things quite a bit. She dialed in a lot of like the admin type of work, which is not something she or any of us really enjoy as much. But it's a very vital and necessary part of our business. But where she excels the most is sales and marketing and interfacing with the clients and being able to just create an event on the spot on the phone with a client, even from phone call number 1. So I've been really impressed with everything that she brings to the table. And last November, we launched her brand, and her brand, she'll share more about it. But it's called Rose Wild Productions. And that's a whole lot of adult and spicy type stuff if you end up looking at all that. So that's her. And then Laura.
And let's go ahead and have Rose tell her story, and
then
we'll introduce Laura. Okay.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Rose. I pretty much started all this when I was a kid as well. I started ballet at 3, and then I did 17 years of that professionally. And I started teaching and making ballet productions. From there, I then went into competitive pole dancing and started travel dancing and doing that, and got into the circus and did the whole aerial acrobatic stuff, and which led me into fire dancing. So I've been in the entertainment world for really my whole life. And when I met Joseph, he already had the company, and he kind of got me back into fire dancing more, and kind of just joined forces, and the rest is history from there.
As they say, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's introduce Laura. So Laura has been one of our absolute favorite event planners that we have worked with. And we recently sat down and decided that we want to partner I think it was a month and a half ago. I can't even remember now. Everything is flying by like a blur. She also has two brands and she'll probably talk a little bit about both. But Muddle Fresh is a luxury mobile bar service, and the very definition of collaboration is one thing that Laura really excels at, and it's something that we have really appreciated, being able to just collaborate and tag team all kinds of different stuff. We had an event together last Thursday. We have another one this Saturday. Two very different kinds of events, but it doesn't really matter. We all go in there and we do our part, and it turns out amazing. So we have a lot of love and appreciation for Laura, and we're happy that she's on the call with us.
Thank you. That was so sweet. Well, I love Joseph and Rose, so I'm very excited. Thank you so much for having us, Regina. I am Laura, and I am the CEO and founder of Muddle Fresh Event Planning Services and Luxury Mobile Bar. And then I also own AC Bachelorette Party. So they are both very much an event planning service, except that Muddle Fresh definitely caters more to the luxury events services locally, and we travel with that one as well. Honestly, corporate events are kind of like our niche. And with AC Bachelorette Party, because we are in the Arizona area, it's just driven by bachelorette parties traveling to Scottsdale. So it's kind of a need to have that. And the way that I got into it was actually, you're going to laugh at this one. So I actually used to be in the corporate industry for credit risk and mortgages. And for a really long time, I actually led so many different departments in that realm. And it was an amazing career run for sure. But, as you get older, your life goals and your perspective on life starts changing, and you start wanting a little bit more freedom. So I was doing quite a bit of manifestation and kind of saying I want to be my own boss, blah, 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 right? So then in my career in the corporate world, it started kind of taking a little bit of the downturn. And at the moment, I was seeing it as God, what's going on? People are getting furloughed and that kind of stuff was happening. So it was I think that was just what I called the universe pushing me in the direction that I kept saying I wanted to go into. So once I saw myself in a tough situation or uncomfortable situation in life with my corporate career, me and my husband decided to open up a luxury bar service. So it initially started out as just a luxury bar, and then we created it into a million other things for event rentals and everything, and then opening up a whole nother company. But, I do come from a big family, and I always say you run stronger with numbers. So collaboration has been huge for me. But surprisingly, with Muddle Fresh, we actually don't have a lot of collaborations. And Joseph and Rose were just that perfect match of implementing that for Muddle Fresh, to create a more elevated experience for us, for sure.
Excellent. Excellent. As I think about the three of you and what you're doing and who all you're doing it with, I mean, literally, you could not do what you do without collaboration, right?
Takes a lot of hands.
It takes a lot of hands. And it's not now, Rose, you mentioned being in the circus, and there everybody was, for want of a better word, permanent, right? They had jobs there, right? They were employed by the circus. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah.
But what you folks do requires that more of a contract relationship, right? As opposed to an employee relationship for the most part. And so you have to have a lot of connections out there that are willing to collaborate on these events, right?
Yep, that's very true.
How did you build those relationships, Joseph?
Just networking my ass off. So we got here to Phoenix, and what else are we to do if we are low on budget? We don't have tons of financial power to just throw at lots of marketing. What we did, and just kind of, it was a marathon, but we were going to about 8 to 10 networking events every week.
Wow.
And then finding Laura, I think we found Laura about 3 months or maybe 4 months into our time here.
Right?
What was that?
We found her this year, right?
This year. Yeah, it was just a few months ago, or 2 months ago maybe. But yeah, through all of our networking, we've now found lots of DJs and lots of photographers and videographers and bartenders, lots of different mobile bars, lots of different event planners. There's so many and not even talking about all the performers that we need to find fairly quickly, because without performers, we have no show,
Right.
no entertainment, no ability to be able to create experiences. And so I think we found probably a little over 50 performers since we've been here in the last 7 months. So it's nice, and stick like glue to the ones that we can trust, that are reliable, and do what they say they're going to do, that are safe, and they have a high level of professionalism.
And teamwork.
So important, right?
Borrowing connections also is something that I've done quite a bit. Coming out here to Arizona on even just the luau side, not even our fire circuits, I don't have any Polynesian dancers out here other than myself and Rose. And Rose just recently started to learn everything about my culture and how to dance and perform from different islands. But what I've had to do out here is kind of borrow from other Polynesian dance groups, make really good friends with the owners of these Polynesian dance groups, to be able to borrow their resources and to be able to take care of everybody along the way. Same thing with Lara. If we need anything along the lines of events, like, she's one of the first questions that I'll ask. Hey, do you have this type of person? Do you have so-and-so? Hey, I'm kind of in need of this over here. Is there anyone that you know, if you don't have that could connect us to what we need? So
I love that.
And
I love that you are going to the top of the organization that has those employees, those people, and working with them, collaborating with them to utilize their people, as opposed to going to the people and trying to steal them from other shows into yours.
Yeah, I don't want it to ever feel like we're poaching performers or entertainers.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go around, and there's a lot of abundance. And if we're able to really play fairly, then everybody wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Laura, how have you found collaboration to be really impactful in your business as you've started out in your own businesses now?
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like absolutely. I feel like collaboration is essential for innovation and growth. I feel like by working with others, we can combine our strengths, our resources, and we can create very unique, memorable experiences for our clients. But then also, I feel like collaboration brings fresh ideas and perspectives that can lead to more creative solutions and enhance our values. Because even though, we may be event planning service, at the end of the day, running a small business is very similar for many of us in the event industry. So me chatting with Joseph and Rose, they've been amazing. I mean, they've been essential with telling me like, hey, check out this platform, check out this networking event. And there's been so many times that I talk to other people in collaboration, and you learn a better way to do your invoicing, a better way to automate things. It is unbelievable how much there is and how much time goes into creating a service. And a big portion of it, honestly, happens behind the scenes. Honestly, I feel like the service itself is like the fun part. All the work that goes behind is just so much work that if you don't have other fellow members to help you out, to collaborate with, you're probably gonna find yourself working harder, not smarter.
True.
I agree.
Rose, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. I think collaboration, to be honest, is just so much more fun because you get to work with other creatives that it's so fun to bounce ideas off of each other and to play with their strengths and the dynamic between having somebody there that you that provides something that you don't, or that you're not good at, so it's that's what relationships are for, is for that type of thing. So
I love that. And as you are all creatives, I am sure that those discussions can get to be, I mean, yes, there's work involved. I understand there's work involved, but bringing a group of creatives together to create something has to be phenomenal. Has to be, I always talk about when you're really excited about something, you can see that energy from space, right? Get a group of creatives together, you really get a lot of excitement going, I'm sure. Yeah. What's that been like, Rose?
What's it been like?
Yeah, when you get a group of you together.
Yeah, it's kind of it can be super it's kind of like we just talk for hours sometimes. I remember when we got together with Diana with Painted Citizen, we could just talk for hours on all sorts of ideas on what we can create together, on what they can offer, what we can offer, and how we can blend the two. Yeah, it can just go on and on and on. So.
Yeah.
It can get pretty crazy sometimes.
I bet. Tell us about that, Joseph.
Even so, we're planning a show in Utah for University of Southern Utah next week, and even without all the rest of the moving parts of like event decor and mobile bars and like those elements are not in this show, but it's a full 60-minute production. There's 9 different performers. There's 3 different fire safeties. There's all the other visual elements that we're trying to bring in. And I was hoping, because we're tag teaming that with another entertainment group also. They're going to be coming out to Utah with us. But there's a lot of ideas flying around. And then at what point do you try to incorporate everybody's idea, or just say, okay, this is the path that we're going. This is the decision that's being made. Let's go, so we can get some forward movement, especially when there's conflicting ideas. What was that?
I think it's important to, like, for one person to have a main vision. So, like, obviously we have a main vision for the show, and then we have other people's input, of course, and we play around with it. And then if it doesn't go along with the main vision, obviously there has to be some sort of organization with it.
Do you have a process for accepting or rejecting some of those creative ideas in alignment with the vision?
I think it really it comes down to, for me, when I design something, I want to start at the end and kind of plan backwards from there. And I'm always focused on what's the impact that we need to make. Like whatever it is. With the USU show, the big one, it started off with one theme, and we were getting music sent to us, because I don't pick music for the performers. I want them to be performing to what they're passionate about. But we're getting sent music. I'm like, oh, this is not on at all. We need to course correct. And how are we going to do that? And so, as gently as we can, just saying, okay, this is where we're trying to get to. And then they try again, and then it starts to come together. We just have to massage it into place sometimes. Or stuff like last Thursday, we had this just wild, crazy experience that we had all created. And a lot of times it's talking about boundaries with clients. Like, what are the boundaries? Like, you're asking me for something. I don't want to cross the line. Where's the clarifying talks that we're having to be able to say, okay, if you want us to walk the line, we got to know where that line is at. So we are respectful to everybody involved.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of like guidance along our creative path.
Say that again, Rose.
There's a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts. Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point here that I'd like to maybe explore a little further, and that is that depending upon the type of collaboration, there needs to be one voice that is kind of the final answer, if you will. So. Especially, the larger the collaboration, but also that could be really true in smaller collaborations as well. And how important is it to lay that out in the very beginning of who's got these roles, who's the final say on this? Yes, we're all contributing, but who's the final say on it? How important is that, Laura? From your perspective, how important is that?
honestly, I feel like being an event planner, that's like the biggest thing for like in my realm of the world is communication. Thankfully, communication's always been kind of like a big strong suit for me. So it's almost like putting a symphony together. Everything has to flow perfectly so that there's no miscommunications and you can't ever have an assumption. So you can never go in it assuming that this is what they mean. So for me, I've become really good at being curious and asking questions. Or if it's not my strong suit and like this is like their realm and this is what they want, it's like a direct communication with the client and say, look, I'm going to get this person in contact. They're going to go over their services so that there's no like, oh, I miscommunicated what's going to happen. But then, it's an easy summation for me where I can say, like, this is the timeline of the event. It's going to start at this time, it's going to be at this time, and it's going to flow in that way. But, ultimately, the biggest goal is being able to provide a comprehensive event solution because we all love convenience. So we don't go to the grocery store, and I know that we do all go, but when you go and you have to shop for like the meat here, but then you have to go to the other grocery store to get your produce, that's like really inconvenient. So
Right.
with event planning services, it's really important that you understand all the things that the customer is going to need and that you also oversee all the things that they're not seeing. And I know it sounds really silly, but often clients forget that like they need to have a lot of trash cans around, like nice trash cans or stuff like that. Down to those kind of details that you're like, how many, like, where are we going to set those things up? When is it going to start? Like, what are all the things that you're going to need and making sure that we provide a whole like service so that the customer's not having to take away all this time away from work, from their kids, from busy life. So to plan out an event. And I think that that's a huge thing for us in the entertainment is we understand that like at the end of the day, the customers want us to create an amazing experience, but they also want it to be as seamless as possible. So when you collaborate with other people, it's key that amongst ourselves we're communicating. So we're all making sure we're creating that beautiful symphony the day of the event.
Yeah. And having that turnkey experience where you, like you said, you're taking care of things all the way down to the trash cans, right? That you're
100%.
providing that. Yeah.
And that's everyone wants that, but if they want to take on some of the stuff on their own, just kind of still leading them to that. Like, okay, here are the people that you should call that we partner up with.
Right.
The other thing with that, I feel like even Joseph and Rose probably know this. It's like it's really important the people that you like partner up with have in many ways the same values that you do for your company. So, you may be executing at a certain level, but like maybe a partner that does great cakes, but they're not executing at your level. So their communication might be bad. Their invoicing might be kind of bad. Like there might be a lot of little things that make it annoying or inconvenient for the customer. So it's like very sticky situation where you do really have to understand that like the people you're partnering up and collaborating with are equally operating at your level. And if you're lucky, like at a way higher level than you are. So.
I think that's a critically important element is making sure that you are in alignment in your values with those that you collaborate with. Joseph, your thoughts on that?
That's always been really important to me because I want to know that I'm working with somebody that shares very similar values as me. If I can't trust them, I don't have any interest in working with them. If we don't have that mutual level of respect, then people will be like wasting my time with different things that I don't need to be worrying about or not valuing my time at the level that I need it to be valued at.
Right.
And all the way around, like Laura said, a high level of execution. There's a lot of people in the industry that they're doing great work. They got great talent, but it's a little bit clunky and they haven't really refined what it is that they're doing. And I look for people that are just as serious about their business as I am. And I don't expect everyone to work 14-hour days like I do. I try not to do that every day. But I want to surround myself with people that are serious, that I can trust, and that are willing to put in the work and help A lot of our crew in Utah, they've been with us from the very beginning, back in the day when we used to pay performers like $100 to come in and do a performance. And over time, like, we've been able to level up this business and level up what it is that we're doing, and the quality and the value, and it's all coming through. And those people that were loyal to us in the very beginning that worked for less are now the same ones that I have massive amounts of loyalty to, that I want to give these higher paying gigs to as just like a big thank you. Like, hey, we already know how each other works. We already have a lot of like comfort level in the way that we do what we do. And Kay, you've also had my back from the very beginning. Let's keep charging full speed ahead. And I want to get you guys paid as much as possible.
Trust element, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Rose, let me ask how, and I'm echoing back with somebody, I'm not sure who, so we might need to.
Somebody's speakers turned up and it's catching in the mic.
Yeah, or just mute when you're not speaking. Rose, when you first meet someone, then how do you go about determining that they're at that level, that they are playing the same game that you're playing, that they have those same values? Because we can all talk a good game, right?
Of course, yeah.
How do you explore that and make sure that they are a fit for you?
Well, it's all about asking questions. I think it's kind of a vetting process, because when we first moved here, and we were going to so many networking events, that's so many people to go through and to get to know and build relationships with, and you kind of learn really quickly, who is I don't want to say worth, but who I would want to continue to be in a relationship with in business moving forward, but not only by what they say, because yes, people say a lot of things and they don't follow through or whatever it may be, but it's looking at their work, it's seeing consistency with them. And I think that's one of the main things that I've noticed here in Arizona is who is consistent, who is continually showing up and communicating and actively, showing that they want to create alongside us. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not just talking a good game and really seeing what's in it for them.
Right.
So I feel like with business, it's a lot about honestly putting in the work for each other and showing it.
Yeah. Good answer. Good answer. I'm reminded of that expression, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah,
right. That comes out of my mouth so much.
Oh, goodness. So, Joseph, take us down
Laura
the road.
Something, but she forgot she's muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Laura, go ahead. Unmute and share with us.
Oh, yeah. No, I love what Rose said. I feel like, I've always been a student of life. So I like to do a lot of reading and listening to things. And I listened to a podcast the other day that was talking about how relationships are built in tier levels. So you have the initial first impression. You're like, okay, I kind of like what I'm hearing. And it very much to what Rose said. You meet a lot of charming people in the industry, right? But the next biggest step is understanding if they actually put action to what they said. Because then that's your next level of trust of this person really does mean what they said they were going to do. And I would say that the third one is, for me, I think is really important, is seeing if this person really genuinely cares about me and my business as well. Because, some people may love what you offer, but may not have the best interest of just serving you equally as they're serving themselves. Because, at the end of the day, sometimes maybe your service may be an addition that make them look good, but their intent isn't 100% to really create more of a stability for you and to really constantly work hard on the days that you're not looking. And I think that's important, with partnerships, it's important to understand, look, we have this bond, we're going to keep, working hard to find you more jobs so we can keep collaborating together. But then also transparency, like for me, like with AC Bash, I get a lot of people that are like, hey, let's partner up. And although that may be great, like we may have quite a few groups of girls that like come in, and I'll keep offering like an IV drip, or I'll keep offering other stuff that I am not making any money from, and it's not really like anything to do with me. And they might not take it, but maybe on the fifth offer, they may want it, and it's a constant work, building trust and collaboration. And also, like Rose said, I feel like another thing is I'm very observant, and I feel like it's funny because a lot of the times people don't really realize how much you're listening to the things they're saying. And my husband, like, he hates it and loves it, because I have the memory of like, I don't even know what it is, but I remember everything. So we will be at like networking events, and people will say something, and then as the relationship progresses at different levels, they'll say something that's contradicting, and it could go a bit like in your spidey senses, like, oh, like that's not the same thing that you said before, or if they're speaking very foully about a customer, or like, I don't know, you're just like, there's a way to say things sometimes, so there's a lot of different things that I think are important as far as building trust and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Joseph, can you walk us through the lessons learned from a time that maybe you embarked on a collaboration that turned out not to be so good? And what were the lessons that you learned that help you to make better collaborations moving forward? You've not had any of those. I could tell by the expression on your face.
I got too many of those. One thing that I've learned in my many years in business is sometimes not to be so trusting, and to be so transparent, and to be so giving of myself. And so I've been learning in the last probably 2 or 3 years about boundaries. That's something that is just
a
a
word you used
thing.
a while ago. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, whether it's personal life and personal boundaries, or professional life and professional boundaries, I think it's something that people don't really know how to have boundaries, or that they can have boundaries. The way that I was raised, I didn't really know what boundaries were until like a couple of years ago. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that really bit me in the butt early on in my career. And even 10 years ago, I had started this business with another partner, and we ended up not seeing eye to eye. And it turned out to be a massive disaster, a very public, online, massive disaster. And it became a full-time job for me for about 2 months, just managing all of the stuff that was coming at me. Hawaii Now News was calling me, trying to do a story on these 2 studio owners in Utah that were fighting. And I don't like when my business gets so put out there publicly, but also like when you see something a little bit differently than somebody that you're supposed to be working really close with. How do you come to some type of positive outcome?
Yeah.
Where are we meeting in the middle? Where are we going to give a little and take a little? And if that's just not happening, at what point do you need to just cut them off,
pull the plug,
move on, and let it be whatever it is?
Yeah.
So I've just done everything that I can to take lessons from that and who I bring into my business, or any business, and just to be really careful. A lot of the stuff that Rose says, like when we're meeting somebody new, a lot of times all we have to go off of is like their energy or their vibe, or like whatever kind of feeling that we're getting from them. And then sometimes that can shift, because sometimes people are pretty good at pulling the wool over our eyes, or doing that wolf but is actually in sheep's clothing. And so we've got to protect our loved ones. We got to protect ourselves. We got to protect our time and our resources and our energy, because we don't have unlimited amounts of all of those things. Even though I used to think I was Superman for many years, and I would just go until I have nothing left. And that's a good formula for burnout.
It is. Another element that you have to protect in there also is your clients, right?
And
And
that
when
was a
you,
big thing too, when we
yeah,
split, like that person that I'm doing my best not to mention,
and I appreciate that.
continued to use my same business name for about a year afterwards. And I had his clients calling me and my clients calling him, and nobody knew what was going on. And I would get angry calls from clients saying something about how I canceled their appointment. And I said, no, I've got you scheduled. I've got you scheduled. You're on the calendar. We signed a contract.
Yeah.
Here's the invoice. You already paid in full. Like, we're going to be
Oh,
there. I
wow.
promise. So it's that type of stuff. Like, I really care a lot about our clients' experience. And so one of the things that I had to do to be able to solve that problem, because I couldn't continue going on with that level of chaos with our clients, is that I had to trademark. I got the national trademark for the word HANA. And that's actually what ended up spiraling everything out of control. There was a lot of stuff that was spread online that was not positive. But at the end of the day, it created clarity in the market, and it protected myself and it protected my clients.
Right.
And so whatever I had to go through in order to be able to get to the other side of all that, I just had to suck it up and go for it.
Yeah. So I guess a bottom line comment here is that while collaborations are amazing and are the way that we can change the world in a much faster way, there are lessons to be learned along the way of the things not to do, right? And I do, having had at least one collaboration where we needed to call it quits, recognizing that, recognizing when it's time, when it's like, this is not working anymore. This is not good for us. It's not good for our clients. It's not, and sometimes it's your gut telling you, right?
And usually it's a pretty heart-wrenching experience because you invested so much into that person, and you genuinely care about them. And like, you also have these thoughts of like your future that you had already projected out with this person.
With that person. Yes.
Plans on the calendar, plans in general, goals.
Right.
It's like a breakup with a personal relationship almost.
It is. Yeah.
It's not pleasant. It's not comfortable. And it just takes time to process, get through those feelings, and keep going, because life is not going to stop. Even if
life is not going to stop.
Need to stop.
Oh my goodness. Ladies, any thoughts to add to that, Rose or Laura? Rose?
I haven't had any collaborative experiences that have been super detrimental, but it's been a lot of learning for when I do hit roadblocks within collaborating, that like in my role, am more of a sponge. I think it's really important in partnership to be able to be humble and to let go of your ego, to be able to work as a team together.
Yeah.
Especially, I think a lot of creatives, because they get so caught up in their idea of how something should be.
Right.
There's like a wall put up over what anybody else has to say about it sometimes, so it's, and with like working with performers, a lot of performers tend to have a big ego. And so to be able to, just have this self-discipline to just put the ego in the passenger seat and to actually be able to work together is important.
That's a really good point, because that carries across the board. A lot of leaders have a really big ego in companies and departments and things of that nature. And that ego is not what's going to get the job done, right?
Right. It's more like a pathway to self-destruction.
Exactly. Or corporate destruction even.
Corporate destruction.
Yeah. Thanks, Rose. Laura, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I love that fact that she said ego is a huge thing. I honestly feel like a big part of trying to maintain the boundaries always starts with within yourself. So what I have tried really, really hard to work on is literally like meditation, like journaling, like always learning, and then always having a whole ton of self-awareness. Because I feel like even when you are stepping into a line with a situation, with a collaboration that you're like, oh, this is not going anywhere, implementing those things offhand kind of helps you have that awareness before it's going to really like turn into destruction. Because you become a lot more aware. I'm not going to lie. I will say that meditation has been just like a world of difference for me in the way that like in my relationships personally, and like in also in my career. But then the other thing is like affirmations. I know it sounds silly, but I feel like I do a lot of like let go of control, let go of attachment, like abundance to this universe is unlimited, like so many of those things. And I feel like that really helps, because like you will have moments with your relationships, with your, even with your customers, you know, that you like maybe killed it, you know, you did an amazing job, and you like, then you become a little attached to them, because you're like, yeah, you know, like gonna have another event, I'm gonna be their go-to. And then like, it doesn't always turn out that way. Like sometimes people may have loved that event, but then like, then for the next one, they want to go like a lot cheaper, and you're not it. So, and it's like letting go of those attachments, letting go of those controls. And I feel like, because if you like structure your mind, like if you do all the things to structure your mind to handle all those situations, it's a lot. It's going to make it, it's not easy. It's going to make it a lot easier to try to avoid as many of those. Not that you're going to, because things will happen, but at the end of the day, you can't control how other people act or what they do. You can only control how, you know, like you handle it. And
Exactly.
you know, like how Joseph was saying, I mean, I couldn't imagine having some partner going on social media, like just going crazy. That takes a lot of like mental power to deal with that, and like to not be super shattered or to be triggered to react, right? Like, because at the end of the day, it's like they say, if you engage in an argument, like you'll both look crazy, right? But
yeah,
there's that need to like defend your brand, and you're like, you know, my business is my baby. So I can't imagine all that, but I feel like if you put a lot of mental work into a lot of the things, also the ego is going to be something that you become very aware. But I feel like even with like our employees, if something happens, and I think I learned this thankfully early on in my corporate world, if there was ever a mistake made, the very first question I would ask is, what could I have done better to have avoided this? Like, it wasn't like how I'm going to remedy this, how I'm going to coach this employee. No, the first thing was, what did I do wrong? And I can 100%, 1,000% bet you that if you ask that question for every mistake made or everything that went wrong, you're always going to find quite a few reasons of things that you could have done better. So
great self-improvement. Great self-improvement plan. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, folks, we are out of time. It's time for our wrap-up round. So I am going to turn this over to Joseph to run our wrap-up round, and Joseph is going to call on everyone for their final thoughts on collaboration and your contact information. And while he's running that, I'll put your contact information into the public chat as well. So Joseph, take it away.
All right. Well, I'll lead the way with the wrap up. I really appreciate the time, Regina, and the time that it takes to even just put this on and to be able to have these healthy discussions around collaboration. I think it's topics like this are topics that need to be discussed more often. More people need to be having conversations like this. So, and a lot of love and appreciation for my my partners here, Rose and Laura. And Rose, if you want to have any last thoughts, you want to share anything else with us before we close it out, go for it. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Regina. Appreciate it. I love talking about stuff like this. I think the more that we kind of express how important collaboration and teamwork is, the more that we can help each other just grow as businesses and as people in general, because it's going to go a lot longer and a lot farther when we work together. So,
and make a kinder world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Joseph.
Lara, I'm passing it over to Lara.
Well, thank you so much, Regina. Thank you so much, Joseph and Rose, for having me here. I really appreciate it. I absolutely feel like collaborations are vital. Being an entrepreneur is a very lonely world. And when you find people that you can relate and that can share the struggle with you and give you that push to not just make your business better, but also give you the push to know that, like, you're not alone. It's a little speed bump. We're here for you. That's a huge thing. And then contact wise, how to contact us. So if you are looking for any event planning services or a luxury mobile bar, www.muddlefresh.com. Or if you're planning out a really cool bachelorette party, azbachelorparty.com.
Awesome.
That's great. Thank you. And as far as our information goes, our office line is 801-331-5852. And our website for all things entertainment and experience creation is hanaentertainment.com. And that's Hana with one N, Hana. So I appreciate it, guys. That was a great call.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here. This is wonderful. I'm sure that our listeners will find great value in it. And with that, we thank our listeners for joining us today, and we'll hope you catch the next show on Collaboration Conversations. Bye for now.
All right. Thank you.